If you're watching this video, maybe you want to practice mindfulness. Perhaps you've tried to download a few apps and tried mindfulness, but don't really know how to get started, and you don't know whether you're doing the right way. Hi, if you're new to this channel, my name is Dr. Erwin. I help high performers create habits to lead a happy and successful life. In this video, I'm going to talk about common barriers to practice mindfulness. If you're new to the community, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so that you don't miss any future videos. Mindfulness practice is paying attention to the present moment, being aware of the present moment, and paying close attention to what's happening in the present. It's showing up to the here and now. Truly living in the present moment is not as easy as it sounds, and it takes practice. This is why mindfulness is called as a practice by some people. The way I see mindfulness is a way of life. You don't need to have a formal practice of mindfulness where you set aside 15 minutes to practice meditation, for example. You could actually incorporate mindfulness in your everyday activities. The number one barrier people face to practice mindfulness is time. They don't find time to practice mindfulness, and they think that mindfulness is something that's going to take a lot of time out of their day. If you're too busy to practice mindfulness, chances are that you most likely need to practice mindfulness. So you need to make time to practice mindfulness. So, like I said, you don't need to have a formal practice of mindfulness. You could practice mindfulness in your daily activities and stack it with your day-to-day activities. A perfect example is if you're going to have your meal, then you can eat mindfully. You are already going to set some time to eat anyway, so you can practice mindfulness while you're eating. Take more time to eat and appreciate the taste of the meal that you're having. Make sure that you're in the moment and you're eating this meal and appreciate the taste. And when you notice the food, you'll have a more rich experience of eating your meal. You might find that you enjoy your food more when you practice mindful eating. As a doctor, I know how busy work can get, and oftentimes I've had to rush through my lunch and not pay attention to the food I'm eating and appreciate the food, just noticing the taste of the food. Oftentimes what can happen is that you're so busy you get interrupted by other things and you're thinking about other things that you don't take this time to practice mindfulness and eat mindfully. So this is something I'd suggest that you try and see whether it works for you. Another example of practicing mindfulness is when you're walking. If you're walking, you can walk mindfully. By walking mindfully, I mean that you pay close attention to your steps and you feel the ground with your foot. So instead of being on autopilot and thinking about what you're going to do next or just daydreaming, what you can do is pay close attention to your steps and be in the present moment. The next barrier to practicing mindfulness is not getting it right. Many people have a tendency to judge themselves. When they get into mindfulness, they feel they are not doing it the right way. They feel that they're not practicing it the right way and they're not perfect at it. And they're having thoughts in their mind is wandering and they're just frustrated. And instead of practicing mindfulness, they practice frustration. So this is a common tendency among human beings to be judgmental. And one of the key elements of mindfulness is to be non-judgmental. So when you're practicing mindfulness, it's a process, and if you're having these thoughts, if you're thinking that you're not doing it the right way, just observe this thought and let it be. Label it if you find that useful. And notice that thought and carry on. Just stick with it. Because this is what mindfulness is. It's not about judging yourself, it's about being non-judgmental. The way I like to explain it is, if you're looking at the sky and you're seeing clouds, you don't go and try to push the cloud away so that your sky is completely clear. What you do is you just observe the cloud. The clouds will come and go and you just observe it. Just let the thought be there for what it is. It's not a good thought, it's not a bad thought, it is just a thought. It's important to recognize that you are not your thoughts. These are just thoughts, and this is just your imagination, and it's not even facts. Barrier number 3 to mindfulness is when you're practicing mindfulness, you're not seeing any benefits whatsoever. After practicing mindfulness, you're not seeing any progress, and this is where you're feeling that you want to give up. And maybe you've tried a few apps and you've practiced mindfulness and you're not finding anything beneficial from this practice. So with practicing mindfulness, you need to be patient because you won't find benefits straight away. Some people may take time before they actually benefit from it. And the more you practice at being mindful, the stronger you grow your practice, and you will find that you will get benefit out of it. Most people find that when they practice mindfulness for a long time, they find an inner peace. They're more composed and calm. They're able to respond to difficult events in a more thoughtful way. So not everybody who practices mindfulness may feel that they've enjoyed the process. But the thing is, you need to have this discipline to keep with it and stick with it, because the more you practice mindfulness, the stronger you grow your practice. And by practicing mindfulness, you're rewiring the hardwiring in your brain. And research has shown that by practicing mindfulness regularly, you can literally transform your brain. Scientists from Harvard have studied the structural changes of the brain with MRI technology and have found that there is an increase in gray matter when you practice mindfulness. So you might not find any benefit instantaneously, but there is definitely benefit in the long term when you practice mindfulness. So you need to be patient. The next barrier to practicing mindfulness is feeling sleepy. So practicing mindfulness is about awakening the senses. It's not about feeling sleepy. But I know that a few people who actually, when they practice mindfulness, they can't help but feel sleepy. They want to go to sleep. So this practice is relaxing and they feel like it's the ideal moment for them to go asleep. So if you're one of those persons who are struggling when you're practicing mindfulness and you feel sleepy, I'd suggest that you open your eyes when you practice so that you don't feel that sleepy. If it's still not helping, when you're getting this sleepy sensation, sleeping through, just label it. Just label it as sleep. Just notice that you're feeling sleepy. If it's still not helping, then what I suggest you do is go and have a nap and then come back and practice mindfulness. Or the other thing you could do is just wash your face with some cold water and then come back to your practice. And you might feel more refreshed and awake, and then it will be easier for you to practice mindfulness. However, if these steps still don't work, then you could actually practice sleep meditation. This is a meditation which helps people to fall asleep. And this is a good way to actually be mindful. The last barrier we'll cover today, but definitely not the least, is that people find that mindfulness takes a lot of effort. And this is seen as another chore on their to-do list. By changing the way you see mindfulness, it might help you to engage in the practice. Instead of seeing it as a chore, see it as an activity where you're committing to yourself and you're investing in yourself, where you're expressing self-love to yourself, so that when you're practicing mindfulness, it does not come as an effort or something that you have to cross on your list. You can appreciate the investment and the commitment that you're making to yourself by engaging and practicing mindfulness daily. So by simply changing the way you see mindfulness, it might help you to practice mindfulness and incorporate it in your daily activities. If you face one of these barriers, know that you're not the only one. And when I started my journey into practicing mindfulness, I also faced through these barriers. And at times I also have these occasions when I'm having these barriers. And it's important to realize that when you practice mindfulness, it's about the journey. It's not about the destination. It's a process of being kind to yourself and practice being in the present and paying attention to the moment, to the here and now. If you've watched this video and have not practiced mindfulness, then this is your main barrier. I've done a video about how you can start practicing mindfulness, and I go through 3 different mindful practices that will be useful to you. So by just starting, you're one step closer in your mindfulness journey. If you're facing a barrier that we have not covered today in your mindfulness practice, let me know in the comment section. I'd like to read your comment. Comment down below which barrier you're facing. If you found this video useful and want more videos like this, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so that you don't miss any future videos. I'll see you in the next video. Take care everybody. Bye bye.